Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk More on Monday. We are continuing our episodes in the interim between when we publish content for our issues. So, if you guys have been listening along with us, about a month ago, I guess, we wrapped up our series on issue 10, which was all about influence. It's always really wonderful to talk to our amazing contributors about their pieces. But in the time in between, we get to just interview some amazing people about their expertise and dig into their worlds. So I am joined today by Leila Spann. We're so happy to have you with us. And we're going to talk a little bit about marketing and how it can tell a story. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Chloe. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you and just have you introduce yourself, tell our listeners who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. My name is Leila Spann. I'm the founder of a company called Enbloom Marketing, which is a brand strategy and storytelling agency. Truly, it grew out of my love for plants and then my journey into motherhood. And I always say the business has truly brought me to life in a lot of ways because I struggled with postpartum depression and kind of launched the business around that time. So to be able to be here today, excited, and to be able to share that story is something that one, I'm proud of, and two, I'm excited to be able to amplify my clients' stories, other brand stories, and share more about what marketing means to me and all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. I feel like it's always easier to connect with a brand, with a story when there is, something at the heart of it.
That's the part.
So you have created, is it a marketing firm? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, I always say a brand strategy and storytelling agency. Yep.
Okay, amazing. So what does marketing truly mean to you? Like somebody who maybe doesn't know what marketing is, how would you explain it to them?
Yeah. So you kind of alluded to it in your last little comment there. Marketing for me is about connection. So I think a lot of people think, hey, marketing is about, hey, how do I sell these services? How do I promote these services? How do I advertise these services to get sales through the door? Well, that's a very borderline way of thinking about it. It's also very transactional. So I say for me, marketing is about connection. Connection then leads to conversion. And for me, building trust and being a bridge between what a brand offers and what a person actually needs practically, emotionally in their everyday life, and bridging that gap to understand how your service, your offering, product, whatever it is, can really bridge that gap. So for me, it's all about connection, about building trust. And a big part of that, I always like to say, is listening to, like, what are your customers and your prospects doing? And how can we use those insights to really drive connection and build trust? At the end of the day, people really want to do business with people that they like, know, and trust.
Yeah.
So when you say marketing is about sales, it really kind of is a barrier for a lot of people. When you say marketing is about connection, that's what gets me excited. That's what starts to convert and build that level of trust.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways that you gauge that feedback for people? Like how do you find out what it is that they're looking for?
Yeah. So I always say that data tells a story. So I always dive into data to figure out what my audience's pain points are. So there's prospect pain points, there's customer pain points. What is the tension in what your prospect is experiencing? Obviously, with the prospect, we eventually want to turn into a customer. So how do we really understand what their issues and their pain points are to be able to speak to that? Tactically, I would say when I say data, it's like, hey, what's the heat map of our website telling us? Where are we losing people? What are people most clicking on, enjoying, engaging with? If I'm talking through more tactically, like email campaigns, maybe we have email nurture from a specific event. If people are dropping off after email 2, that's really telling a signal of what's not resonating. So for me, I think telling stories through marketing is also digging deeper into the data to better understand audience pain points and what people are and aren't engaging with. Where is the tension, and how can we use that tension to really be agile and make changes on the marketing end?
Yeah. We spoke with Sophie Hadar a few episodes ago. She works for Counterpoint and she talked a lot about, she's a user interface, user design professional. And it was very much, again, about like, why are people connecting? Where are they not connecting? How can we keep them engaged with those like micro interactions? What's drawing them in and is truly meaningful for them. So I think it's interesting that, across like design, marketing, all of these professions, it's a through line of, what are people truly connecting with?
Yeah, it's one of those things when I think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like humans only have a certain amount of energy to give to the world. And all we're trying to do is really conserve that energy. So when you go on LinkedIn or when you go on Instagram and you see so many brands that feel like they're just kind of like shouting into the void, or maybe they're not talking to you, right? There's two angles. I'm not their customer. I'm not their audience. I'm not the person they're talking to. I think that's a big part of it too. Knowing who your ICP is, like your ideal customer profile, who are they? Who's that one person you're talking to? Because I think a lot of people are like, well, we're talking to this person, but also like this person and maybe their cousin too. And I think it makes it so hard to really get that messaging to resonate. If you know the one, ultimately, if you know your customer and their pain points and the things they're struggling with, it's really key to really speak to that. If you're doing a guessing game where you're like, feels like you're throwing spaghetti against the wall and just like guessing and hoping something resonates, it's a really big red flag.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you think that a story can be told through clever marketing? You work with these people, you find out what their stories are. What are the next steps in telling that story?
Yeah. I think it speaks to a lot of what I just spoke to, like the audience pain points, but it's also understanding the aspects of your story and the transformation involved in it. What people connect to emotionally is authenticity and humans. A lot of brands I've seen recently are like, we're just going to push all the way into our company brand and we're only going to post on our company profile. And while that's great, people really want to connect with humans and see the face behind the brand, see your CEO, see your chief product officer, see
Right.
what their life is like outside of work. And I think adding that human element, that authenticity to your brand by allowing other people to share their perspectives, that's when storytelling really gets fun. When people can see themselves in your story and then they start to see themselves in your brand or see what you value through who you have on your team. So for me, good storytelling is understanding one, who you're talking to, two, the aspects of your story. What's the starting point? What's the before? What's the transformation? What's the climax? What's that contrast? Because really that's what people connect with emotionally. And that's what's going to make people feel emotionally grounded, connected to you, and ultimately more human.
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback with the content that we publish that our number one request is behind the scenes
Yep.
footage for our founder, for our interns. People just want to know what's going on behind the scenes. How does it all come together? What is a day in the life? That really like nitty gritty, unedited content is what people crave.
Oh
It's so
yeah.
interesting.
And I love it too, especially seeing Ariana's content, the way she kind of highlights the behind the scenes and brings her, you can really tell what she cares about and how she works out and the things she reads and how that makes her be such a more vibrant, dynamic person. And it makes you enjoy her content and even like her before maybe you even know her. So I think that's one of the best examples of, hey, let's lead with storytelling and let's be vulnerable and authentic in a way that maybe honestly feels like a little uncomfortable sometimes, or like you're like, oh, for me, I know sharing online, I'm like, oh, this is so cringe. And one of my friends is like, if it's cringe, you're doing it right. It's like, I don't know about
Amazing.
that, but I do know that investing in your personal brand is something that you'll never ever regret. So I love
Yeah.
that you spoke to that.
Yeah, and it's such a great example of Ariana's workout videos because, she asks like, "Should I keep the mic on?" And people are like, "Yes, we want to hear the struggle."
All there. We see ourselves and feel ourselves in the struggle. We're like, we're right
Yeah.
there with you, girl.
Same, girl, big same. So, why do you think that it's important for businesses to really market themselves well, especially now when it seems like the market is so oversaturated?
So much. There are so many brands, there's so many companies. It
Yeah.
feels like even just the idea that I can go to the store for one thing and there be maybe 10, 15, 20 options of different brands, sometimes that are the same brands disguised as different brands.
Right.
It's so taxing to be a consumer and to have that the weight to hold the weight of that decision. So for me, why it's important for businesses to market themselves is because you can have the most stellar product, you can be top of the line, and ultimately if no one knows it or understands the value you provide, your service, your product is going to stay on the shelf. So unless you promote unless you know who you're talking to, unless your marketing clarifies value and understands how to attract the appropriate audience, then it's all just going to contribute to the noise. You're not going to get the sales. You're not going to get the brand awareness. You're not going to get the PR. It's ultimately all linked in this spider web, is how I ultimately see it. And you won't be the obvious choice. You're just going to be another option that people see on a shelf for digitally. So how do you stand out? How are you making your customer understand that you are the option for them, that speaks to their pain point, that is intentional and backed by data?
Yeah. What would you say are some recent examples of marketing that has been done really, really well? Like something that stuck with you, or you saw a commercial or some kind of promotional material where you were like, wow, that is it.
It's a good question. So my most recent obsession is with like large scale activation. So in the fall, I think it was this year or last year in the fall, Louis Vuitton did these large scale activations in New York City where they turned a construction site that was going to be one of their flagship stores into literally massive Louis Vuitton bags. And it became this tourist attraction when in reality it was just a construction site. But the fact that they glorified it and made it branded to what was to come really gave people like the excitement around, oh shoot, like I can't wait, when does it open? It made people curious and made them ask questions. So I love that they turned something that was so mundane and what feels like dirty and grimy. People like avoid construction sites because of the stress of it, and it might get your shoes dirty, who knows, right? But instead people were like wanting to go there as a tourist attraction, to check it out, to see these Louis Vuitton bags that were 4 times their size, probably bigger than that. So that was special to me. There's also a content creator, and I'm blanking on her name right now, so maybe we can include it in the show notes, Chloe, but there's a content creator who came out on Instagram and shared that she is on a plan for 1 year to become a millionaire. And I always follow content creators like this because I love seeing the behind the scenes of how they think about it, how they do it, how they pull their revenue together with a bunch of different side hustles or pieces. And the way she develops content is so engaging. The way she uses hooks, the way she uses text, the way she stands in front of, behind the text, and really adds engaging elements to her content, video content specifically. To not only share like vulnerable sides of her, to say like, hey, this is how much money I currently make, and here's where I'm headed, come with me. Because ultimately everyone's like, I want to make more money, right? But no one's really talking about what it looks like to do that, and the grit it takes behind that, the steps it takes to do that, and maybe the reinvention it takes along the way to get there. So I'll have to tag her name or share it with you later, but her content's super engaging and I love her approach to doing that.
Yeah, it's so thoughtful, and people do want to come along for the ride and see like those pieces in between, the struggles and all of that. So yeah, I think it's very smart. And back to the Louis Vuitton moment, like not only is that super fun and engaging, and it's you can take your friends to it, but it's also very postable, right? We can't deny that social media runs a lot of engagement, and if you get to go see the bag and you can post it on your Instagram story or something, like that's going to be engagement for you, and then free advertising for Louis Vuitton.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see their numbers. I'm like, the amount of posts and tags and all the things they got, fascinating, because it's a no-brainer, right? From a brand perspective and from a personal perspective, because it's exciting from both angles.
Yeah. I do think it's fun as well that Instagram has kind of gone towards, even for private, personal accounts, they still let you view your insights. And, I've never been like a big marketing or social media person, but I still find myself clicking on those insights and being like, now, why did this one perform better than this one? Like, I wonder why people engaged with this more. It's just, they're making you ask these little questions. It's so interesting.
It's like an onion, right? It's like, why did they engage? Is it because what I shared, when I shared it, how I shared it?
Right.
All those intentional questions that kind of dig deeper of like, how can I replicate this in a way that will get this a similar amount of engagement, and what here worked, what here didn't work, and making little tweaks like that, being agile every time to make sure you're retrying. That's what I love about being a marketer. It's so fun because you get to test You get to try, you get to A/B test, you get to start something, and then you get to say, oh, wait, the data says this, the actions say this, let's switch to this side and let's test this out. So it's such a marketing answer to just say like, let's test it. But I am a big tester in all the things.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about marketing and how to tell a good story. Is there anything that you want our listeners to check out or where they can find you?
Absolutely. I'm most active on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn girly. So if you find me, Leila Spann, on LinkedIn, I'd love to connect and love to learn more about you. And then if you want to learn more about my business, it's just enbloom marketing.com.
Amazing. And we'll make sure to link that in the show notes as well. So thank you guys so much for listening and for joining us for another episode of Let's Talk More on Monday. Make sure to join us over on our Patreon, where we're going to dig deeper about storytelling and marketing and find out what some of those pitfalls might be, how businesses can engage more fully in marketing and truly use it to their advantage. So make sure to join us over there as well. But thank you so much, Leila. We appreciate you joining us today.
I appreciate you, Chloe. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And we'll see you next time when we talk more on Monday. Bye, guys.